Evening. This is Frank at Bottom Line Ministries, Debt Free. I hope that you've had a great week. It was a gorgeous day here in the Northwest. It just shows how God's beauty was all over the place. It's a beautiful fall day, and I enjoyed it. I hope that your day has been absolutely amazing. I hope that you had a great day, and I hope that you're looking forward to tomorrow, because life is a gift, and we need to enjoy each and every day of it. Well, last week we talked about how to overcome the high cost of living. Or should I say, the last time we were together, we talked about how to overcome the high cost of living. And I'm going to continue along that vein. The last time we were together, we talked about budgeting. And I gave you a few assignments of how to budget, how to get a notepad, to list all your expenses, to add it up, and I challenge you to do those things. Well, this week, I want to talk to you about another thing that's very important to overcoming the high cost of living. And you might not have thought about it, and you might be a person that does it all the time, or you might be a person that has never done it. You've heard about it, but you never considered it because you didn't know how that would affect your finances. And that thing I want to talk to you about, this area is called goal setting. Goal setting. Do you set goals in your life? You said, well, Frank, I set goals when I want to go on vacation, or I set goals at our job. We set goals all the time. But do you have goals set for your life and for your family? If you're married, it's absolutely essential. And one of the things we want to talk about for the next few minutes is, how do goals affect your life? How do goals affect your life? And so one of the things I want to say is you need a written goal. Written goal. And I want to read this to you. A written or verbal plan to accomplish a task or an idea. It's a written or verbal plan to accomplish a task or an idea. I like to say write things down, because when you write things down, they take on a life of their own. But it is a written or verbal plan to accomplish a task or an idea. You see, goals are like a compass. It tells you in which direction you're going. When you have written goals, then you lay out a plan according to those goals, and it tells you where you're going. It's kind of like, say if you want to go from Florida to New York on I-95. Well, the first thing you start looking for is signs. And one of the things, if you're going from Florida to New York on I-95, one of the things you want to see is Interstate 95 North. Because if you're going Interstate 95 South, you're in trouble. You're not going to get to New York. So you want to identify that the interstate you're on, you want to identify the direction you're going in, and you're going north. The other thing you like to see is how many miles it is before you get there. When you're down in Florida, you might not, you just see Interstate 95 North, and you're going through these different states. You're going through Georgia, you're going through North Carolina, you're going through South Carolina, and on up through Maryland. So these things. You have an idea, but you like to see that sign that says Georgia, 100 miles, Interstate 95 North. You like to see that sign that says South Carolina, 100 miles, Interstate 95 North, because that tells you that you're going in the right direction. And I also like to say this. Goals are absolutely essential for turning dreams into reality. If you don't have written goals, but you have a dream, all you're doing is daydreaming. I repeat that. If you don't have written goals, but you have a dream, say you want to become a lawyer, you want to become a professional football player, you want to become a musician, you want to become an astronaut, whatever you want to become, a business owner, you want to become the top of the line in art. Whatever that goal is, if you don't have written goals, all you're doing is daydreaming. And when you don't have written goals, a lot of times that daydream can turn into a nightmare. So goals are absolutely essential for turning dreams into reality. You see, we deal with goals all our lives. I'll just give you some examples. As an adolescent, a child who wants to walk by themselves. You take a 2-year-old. You know, when that 2-year-old starts walking, first thing they start doing, and you start grabbing their hands to hold on to them, they want to pull their hands away. They want to be independent. They want to walk by themselves. Or especially when a young child starts to dress themselves, they say, I can do it, I can do it. And they got their head in their armpit, and, you know, they they got their arm where their neck needs to go. But, and once they get that, say, shirt on, and it's on incorrectly, and they say, I did it, I did it. Why? Because they're trying to accomplish a goal. They want to be independent. Another thing is to feed themselves. You ever see a little baby, once, especially a little 2-year-old, when they start feeding themselves and they got food in every opening but their mouths? Why? Because they want to show that they can do it. They want to feed themselves. As adolescents, when we get older, some of the things that, the first thing you want to do is, as a teenager, want to lay the curfew. The goal is to stay up later. Can I stay up past 12 o'clock? I know in today's society, a lot of times, kids go into their room and they got their laptops, they got their iPhones, and they're up all times of night. But the bottom line is, when you have a disciplined household, because you know that the child needs to be fresh in the morning, you set a curfew for them to turn all that off, go to sleep, go to bed. Another thing they want to learn, they want to be able to do, is to be able to stay out later. They hang out with their friends later than what they did before. That's a goal. And a big one as a teenager, you want to be able to drive. When can I get my license? Why? Because their license represents freedom. So they have these different goals. As a young adult, you want to start setting goals for what college you want to attend, what profession that you want to enter into, where you want to go to school. And, one of the things is to specialize, or when to get married. These are all goals. As an adults, we want to get married, when to buy our first house, when to have our first child, building the college fund, and of course, plans for retirement. In this day of high cost of living, plans for retirement is absolutely essential. And one of the things that we need to do and understand, that the traditional retirement today is totally in jeopardy. You cannot go by your parents' or your grandparents' plan that might have been successful for them for retirement. You have to be able to create your own plan for retirement, because you cannot depend on Social Security and Medicare as a part of your retirement package. Because based on what the government is telling us now, those things might not even be around because they're underfunded as we see it. And see, that's why it's so important to have these goals. As parents, we're thinking about goals as our child's education, their spiritual maturity. One of the things that we should always realize how important it is to let our children know the importance of living a life God's way. Spiritual maturity is absolutely essential, because when you teach a child to follow the Word of God, you will have a whole lot less problems. One of the things you won't have to worry about is using your lawyer so much to get your child out of trouble, but maybe having your attorney set up different plans. You want to use your attorney to set up like an estate planning, to set up your child's trust fund, to set up those things, and not having to go down to get them out of jail because they were drunk driving or being in places they shouldn't be. Because when you take charge of their spiritual maturity, when you set the foundation for them, then their life will be a whole lot better, and your life will be a whole lot easier too. So, and the other thing for a child, you should set the goal for what types of friends they hang out with. That's another very important area that you should decide, because you want your child to go in the right direction. You want your child to have a life that is enjoyable, and to stay out of trouble, to make right and good decisions. And in order to do that, they have to be in the right environment. Now, that's just a sidebar, but it's absolutely essential. Our child's education, I mentioned that, and maturity, their social life, and their career. You know, today was like, let the child make up their own mind. They need to decide to make. Yes, they do. But you need to give them enough good information and a foundation to make good decisions. You know, it's just like the old proverbial says with computers: bad information in, garbage out. You put good information in, then you get good information back. So you need to help to make that. The reason we're bent that way to set goals is because God, our Creator, had a plan from the beginning. In the book of Genesis to Revelations, God had a plan, and that was that He would be our God and we would be His people. So that's why we're wired to set goals. Like I said, even as a little toddler, they want to get up, they want to walk, they want to be free. They have a goal, even as a toddler, because we're bent and we're wired to have goals. So I just wanted to talk to you about a little bit about the effects of having goals, the effects of not having goals, and the effects of having goals. Because, like I said, goals are absolutely essential for turning dreams into reality. So that's it for us today. This is Frank at Bottom Line Ministries Debt Free. I want you to start thinking about your goals. I want you to start writing them down. And the next time we talk, hopefully I'm going to talk about the different types of goals. And I want you to remember this. This is a goal I always want you to remember. Debt is not your destiny. So it's Frank at Bottom Line Ministries. Have a good night. I'll see you next week.